Here's a special update on the Pacific Northwest systems. Here we've got the cold front moving onshore here, and I want to go over some things here. The Portland area is encountering some problems right now. We also have some problems in southwestern Washington here. We have the Willapa River in Washington starting to overflow its banks, as well as the Nazelle River. These are areas that are all under flash flood warnings right now. The Pacific and Washington counties, Grays River, the Nehalem River, Wilson River, and Clatsop County, Columbia County, Tualatin County, Western Washington County, Colwitz County, Pacific County, South Kanawha County, and Wahakuna County. These areas could really see continued torrential downpours, and you can see the moisture doesn't seem like it's moving. It's moving, but there's so much of a conveyor belt of moisture here. It's continuing to produce flash flooding on the order of anywhere from 3/4 to 1 inch an hour rainfall rates across western Oregon here and western Washington. This is where we're encountering some major troubles here on the area rivers, from Portland into southwestern Washington and extending southward to just north of Medford. These areas will continue to see this storm system move inland, but another storm system is waiting off the coast, and this storm system will replace that one within 24 to 36 hours. Right now, we have the Cascades of Washington and Oregon, which will continue to get snowfall as well. We're looking at upwards of 2 to 3 feet during the next several days, and more snow after that as well. So the Pacific Northwest will continue to see this continued moisture band. Let's take a look at of course, the watches and the warnings. We have winter storm warnings in the Cascades for that 2 to 3 feet, and we've got the areas, and I would not be surprised if some areas in these Cascades get upwards of 5 or 6 feet of snow. I really would not be surprised. Above 5,500 feet. Areas such as Klamath Falls, the 32-degree line could drop briefly at times down to that 4,650 feet level, but I'm expecting most of the snowfall to remain above that 4,650 line, most likely to 5,250 up to 5,500 feet. That will continue to progress as each system moves on. Of course, when the system moves towards the shoreline, you normally see a pickup of warm air, but in this case on the Pacific Northwest, you actually see a lot of the warmer Pacific air behind some of these systems, but you also get some warm air out ahead of it. Now the cooler pool of air resides with these low pressure systems as they move over the Cascades, and that's where you get some of the heaviest snowfall when the low pressure moves through. Now, one of the things to note here is the precipitation loop during the next 6 days here, will continue to show that each day looks pretty much the same. We have these red moisture bands moving in. This is very heavy moisture, and will continue to move onshore from the Pacific Northwest as each successive low pressure system moves inland. Now, one thing to note, these are pretty typical low pressure systems for this time of year in the Northwest, but it's highly unusual to get so many at one time, and these will continue to move onshore. At least, I'm looking at the 7 to 10 day forecasts here for the models. Most of the Pacific Northwest, from Portland, Medford up to Seattle and down to just north of Eureka here, will continue to see this continued moisture plume as these systems pinwheel in from the Pacific Ocean. Now, let's take a look at precipitation amounts. We have 7 to 11 additional inches of rain. 7 to 11 more inches along the coast. Just west of Medford, where the heaviest access of rain will fall, up towards Portland. Portland's going to be in the bullseye for a lot of this heavy torrential rain. And then extending north towards just south of Seattle, where the heaviest rain will be, and just south of the Puget Sound here. So these areas will continue to see the heavy rain, and of course the Cascade, very heavy snow going on, particularly above 5,500 feet. So that's what we have for you. The rest of the country, we've got that East Coast low taking a hard right turn out to sea and sparing Hurricane Sandy victims up here in the Northeast, which is very good news. We'll have a very nice Thanksgiving from the Rocky Mountains eastward. But anywhere here in the Pacific Northwest, that's where our attention's going to be. So any one of those rivers or counties that I mentioned, and I'm sure there's going to be more counties added to this list as the evening and night wears on, and it's going to continue to get worse. I want to make note that the #1 killer across the United States for weather is typically flooding, and me being very familiar with floods in my area and affected by many of these floods. I must say that you should heed these flood warnings very seriously. Take these if you live near even some of the smaller creeks that feed into these rivers. These creeks can back up as these rivers take on too much water. So be very prepared if any flooding takes place. And flooding is worst in the middle of the night when you can't really see it. That's the most scariest time for it to develop. I'm meteorologist Mark Muller. I'm going to have another update eventually in the next 12 to 24 hours on this situation here in the Northwest. Like us on Facebook at MeteoMark, and don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube. Here is a very uneventful 4-day forecast for my hometown viewers from Binghamton to Elmira and the northern tier counties of Pennsylvania.